Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Another 5 minutes of Tefillah. Today we're going to be finishing the parak on Hachana, on preparations for Tefillah. Just one tidbit is that we also try to send out a nice little quote, a little picture about Tefillah on the chat. Anyone who's not there, feel free to join. Also, it helps a little bit of a reminder about Tefillah throughout our day. So yesterday we concluded with the realization that built into our Tefillahs is the Achana, that every tefillah, every Shemoneh Esrei has something prior. There's Psukei Zimra, verses of praise, which we're going to elaborate on. There's Ashrei, there's Birchas Kriya Shema. We never start Shemoneh Esrei without something prior, and those psukim prior are in reality a form of Achana. However, and this is where we concluded, the Achana also needs Achana, meaning in the next chapters, we're going to discuss the power of Psukei Zimra. And we're going to discuss how praises are so incredible. So the praises themselves need the preparations prior. Why? Because we explained yesterday that the act of thinking about Hashem, this was the Rambam and Meir Nevuchim, the act of thinking about Hashem is that which connects us to Him. So if we don't have a moment of thought, we're not connecting to Hashem. That's like we said, you're picking up the phone, but you didn't dial his number. So you could try and you could scream and you could talk and you could have intent and you could have kavanah, but who says Hashem's on the other side? So that moment of thought prior, so we have the Psukei Zimra, we have the Ashrei, and of course at the bare bone minimum, we have to utilize that. How critical now we realize is to not run in so late to davening. But furthermore, the moment of thought beforehand, whether it's sitting for a minute or more, halavai, that moment does what? That draws Hashem close. That's dialing Hashem's number. And that's where Shimshon Pincus coins is step number 1 in Kavanah. But now he concludes this chapter with a startling fact. This Gemara in Brachos, which is brought down in the Shulchan Aruch LaHalacha Simin Tzadi Chesef Gimel, that says, how should one daven? One should be Yispalel Derech Tachanunim. One should daven like one is begging, Kirash, like a pauper, Hamivakesh Bepesach Ubenachas, that is knocking and beseeching and begging at the door. And number 2, V'shelo Yira Alav Kimasa. The tefillah should not be a burden, and it shouldn't be a burden that you're just trying to get rid of it. Explains the Mishnah Brura. What does it mean that tefillah shouldn't be a burden? He says, you know what it means? It means even though you're saying the right words, but if you don't think that you actually need something from Hashem, there's a purpose to the tefillah. I'm connecting to my Father and I need Him to give me something. Says the Mishnah Brura, if you don't have a moment of thought that I need something from Hashem, what am I doing? I'm just saying the words. Let's just finish through it. Says the Mishnah Brura, that's like davening as a muscle, like a weight, and that is something which is not called tefillah. The Mishnah Brura paskins, the Bir Halacha says, b'diavad, if you did that, you daven Shemoneh Esrei, the brain was off, you said all the words, okay, says the Mishnah Brura, don't daven again. But Shimshon Pincus hones in and says, scary words. He says, according to the opinions that hold, that if you don't have that thought that I need something from Hashem, you don't fulfill your obligation of tefillah, he says, it's possible that there are many of us, these are his words, harbe me'itanu, that we did not fulfill our obligation of tefillah our entire life. Because we come to daven, we say the words, and we finish. And according to many, many opinions, the Bach, the El Yerabah, the Beis Yosef, the Maimar Mordechai, incredible Rishonim, you're not fulfilling your basic obligation if you don't have a moment of thought that I need something from Hashem. So to wrap up this chapter in Achana, we've learned something incredible. We've learned from the beginning of this chapter that Achana is intrinsic. It's paskind in Halacha, the Rambam, the Shulchan Aruch, that you need to have a moment of thought before tefillah. We realize that it's so incredibly important because in order to talk to someone, that person has to be on the other side. You have to dial Hashem's number. That the kavanah, that moment of thought, or at the very least, the Psukei Zimra, the Ashrei, is that dialing the number, that's making sure Hashem is listening to us. Then of course, a bit more, one moment of thought before we start calls Hashem to us. But now we're learning that when you actually say the words, it also requires a moment of thought. That I need something from Hashem, which of course, it's all one big circle. If you pause before you daven for a moment, for a second, you realize, of course, I need so much from Hashem. Thereby you'll connect to Hashem. you'll dial Hashem, He'll be listening to you, and we'll have much better tefillahs each and every day. Chevra,